Hello, all of you who's watching this podcast. I'm Red November, representing Sunday Wars Universalis, SWU in short. We are a Europa Universalis for multiplayer community, and this is our third session podcast. We started our journey in 1541, and right now we just entered 1600s. We are here to talk about what happened during the span of 59 years. Now that we introduced our community, let me introduce myself and my colleagues. I'm the host of this podcast session, and my nickname is Red November. I'm playing Poland in this campaign, soon to be Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. I'm here with Frozen, who's playing Russia, and I'm here with Tumin, who's playing Mughals. So let's start underlying what we will be talking about today. We will be talking about what has happened, who fought against who, and Martyr is our third session. We are not going to talk about the personal diplomas of our players and their potential allies or enemies for the next session. We do not want to spoil things in advance. We will start introducing players and countries from the Iberian region, and slowly we will travel the world. I hope you guys enjoy this session and others which will follow this one. Here we're at Iberia. Last time we were here, Castile was rising like a phoenix, but something happened and Italy decided to take Valencia so that he can't form Spain and still stuck at Castile. Unfortunately, Sideways is not with us today, but it's interesting. Like Iberia is finally united, and well, sort of united. What do you guys say about this?
What the fuck is this? This capital. Why is it in Gibraltar? What the fuck?
Gibraltar. Well, he doesn't want to give it to British, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Castile is still behind, but still, finally there is like some unification. The civil war is almost over.
Yeah, it's looking a lot better than it used to for him.
It's definitely looking much better. And
Not so
Florence actually helped him, and he got what he wanted. He unified Italy, which we will be talking about soon, and he got some provinces in. Quite interesting.
Yeah, I did not expect Venice to just die so fast. It was like 2 wars and he was,
Yeah.
he was just gone.
You can't convince me that Austria really wanted to protect him at all costs. I'm sorry, I don't buy that stuff.
Okay. Also, Portugal decided to finally sold all of his land in Iberia.
And where's Portugal now?
In Brazil.
Brazil, but wasn't that where Ireland went?
I
Were they
believe
sharing it?
somewhere in America. I believe somewhere in America,
Okay.
but not in Europe anymore.
Oh, he is in Europe. Look at this.
No, Ireland is in Europe. Okay.
Ireland, yeah, Ireland is in
I
Europe.
thought he was
Ireland is
North Morocco, I guess.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like finally, we see an end to the Civil War, which took quite a long time, and Castile stayed very behind in the game.
Yeah. Shows Italy though, with those Spanish provinces, they should be making a lot of money. Yeah.
Well, maybe he has some expansion plans. It's how Rome started first, Italy, then some provinces in Iberia, which was Galicia back then, and then boom, Roman Empire.
It's one of my favorite countries to play in EU4, actually.
Italy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's doing pretty good. Yeah, for the destruction of Italy, we can actually say France played a very important part in this region, because he decided to not kill either factions. He just decided to bully them both. And we have France player here himself to explain his reasoning. Hello, Ogi.
Hello, I'm Ogi. I'm the medium-sized blue blob that is growing tall. And I would like to explain my politics in Iberia now that they are more or less closed. My main goal for growing tall as France was to make sure that there was no big united Spain that could challenge me. So I wanted the Iberians, Aragon and Castile to fight as long as possible and have as devastating wars as possible. So I basically exploited both of them. I I declared wars of humiliation on Castile 3 times, on Aragon 4 times, I think. So I squeezed a lot of monarch points out of them and always made sure that they were never totally winning a war by one way or the other. And yeah, I think this is one of the reasons why Castile is still a backward and medieval country, basically.
The way you explain also how they say humble.
Also, Spain has to basically ask my permission for everything, and Italy. I mean, he's currently under my protection from Britain, so he took colonial ideas to expand a bit more while he's under my protection. But when he wanted to mop up Aragon, I said no, because I promised I promised Valencia to Italy, and he had an agreement with Sideways, and Catalonia, my victory card, was granted to me by their generosity. So I didn't expand beyond my border. I was awarded with Catalonia.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's getting a bit imperialistic, but basically that's the whole politics in the southwest. Castile is alive by the grace of Italy and France, more or less, but they're also under our protection. And during the final stages of last session, they voluntarily offered to sell me some of their colonies. So if you look to the Caribbean or to the African Ivory Coast, maybe you can scroll some.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, we can do that.
It's just a switch, just a quick switch. You'll notice that there are French territories.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, we see some small French territories.
Without me picking exploration idea group. So yeah, that's another benefit. Basically, they are colonizing and selling me the provinces, so I'm paying them to colonize.
You should write a book about how to bully 101.
So yeah,
Wow.
not only am I a really bad neighbor and oppressor, I'm squeezing them for everything they have, except, well, actually now I'm also squeezing them for land.
I see, I see.
At
How
this
many-
point, it's just the Stockholm syndrome, really.
Yeah, or but
How
to
many-
be fair, both Portugal and both Castile offered to sell me their land because they were in so much debt, and I threw them some 200 ducats for a province from time to time. I gave them some change, some 300 ducats. They were so happy about it. Yeah,
Nice.
I'm
Oh.
basically a saint for helping them build a temple or two.
Yeah, he's
you
a
are-
saint.
You are a big saint.
And now we need to talk about the unification of Italy and the fall of Venice. And to represent HRA, we have Hungary here. Ricky is with us. Hey, Ricky.
Hello, I'm playing as Hungary, and I am in the HRE. I joined that in first session, but I'm the only nation Orthodox that is in the Holy Roman Empire. And the fall of Venice. So we started the session with aggressive. We planned to attack Poland, and we did that. But France attacked Austria with humiliation war. And then Florence attacked Venice, but Venice wasn't allied to Austria, so I was fighting alone with Venice. And at some point, Venice just gave up. Like, he didn't even try to do anything. So that was the first war, how it ended. And he lost the Venetia, Treviso, Brescia, and was left like with 2 provinces and Milan. Yeah, that's basically it, the first war.
Okay.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
So the whole plan was
Sure.
because we knew that Austria, Hungary, Bohemia would attack Poland. So I notified Austria that I will humiliate him. I will declare a war of humiliation. He said he didn't like it. I told him I don't care. I will do it anyway. If he likes it or not. And he was growing a bit bold, maybe too bold for his good. So he said he would fight it out. All right. So I made a plan with with Italy, that if Austria decides to stay in this war, Italy will declare a war on Venice and call me in, and I will accept the call to arms faster than Austria or anyone else. So Austria wouldn't be able to join in the direct war against Italy, but I would be in both wars. So it would be faster to siege down Venice completely and get the war score. That was the whole idea. We also planned that Hungary would be in the war against me with Austria, but I don't remember how that worked out in the end. But anyway, this was the plan, to strike quickly at Venice in case Austria defies me. So during the campaign, I sieged half of Austria, I raped Vienna and all the surroundings. and devastated his lands, while Italy dealt a decisive blow against Venice, and it worked out like a charm. I mean, for us,
Wow.
not for Poland.
I was actually trying to keep them as long as in Poland, and then boom, I lost 100%.
You were trying to keep them in Poland so they could finish off Venice?
Yeah, because I knew they were going to do that, but my plan was to actually, how do you say? I wanted to go for reconquest, but I wasn't expecting them to attack me, so we had to do it earlier than we expected to. But right now I'm feeling a bit sorry, because Venice could have given me money. I had to switch sides during the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, that was a really interesting session because so many wars happened in Europe. And what about you still managed to humiliate Austria because
Of course,
you.
I did. Yeah. Because we were thinking, this is just speculation now, but we think the moment I already sieged down half of Austria anyway, and Italy has almost conquered all of Venice, I think Austria wanted to join the war against Italy, but couldn't because he was already at war with me and I was already at war in the other war. So my speculation was Austria quickly surrendered so he could join the Italian war and lose only the humiliation. But then Venice surrendered because, I don't know, maybe Austria couldn't join or something. I'm not really sure. You might have to ask Ricky.
Yeah, Ricky, do you know what happened there?
To be honest, I don't know either. I think he didn't have a slot alliance or something.
Yeah, I think he wasn't allied, but even if he was, he couldn't join the war because I think he got the call to arms pop-up, but he couldn't join even if he accepted it because I was in this war already and he was at war with me. So it was sort of, I'm not sure if you want to call it an exploit or abuse, but it's the way the mechanics are. And we tried to be at war with Venice without involving Austria, but Hungary joined anyway, so yeah, it was half a success.
Yeah, I have quick fingers.
Good for you.
It was a quick war. And also, what happened with a huge war between the HRA and you again, for Cologne? How it happened? How they decided to defy you?
Well, this was later on. Also, I might have to add, I had some real technical difficulties. I crashed 4 times during the last session. And for some time, Kreshka was subbing me because I didn't want to ruin the game for everyone by constantly crashing. But basically what I did after humiliating Austria, I attacked Great Britain, occupied all of his Netherlands, and I got filthy rich by collecting in the English Channel because Britain was pumping all his trade there. And even though I had only 20 or 30%, it was more than my entire trade income during the other part of the game. So it was a lucrative business pillaging over there. And then I think this was a mistake because this brought Britain and the Austrians really close together. Britain started paying tons of money to Prussia and Austria, who then enforced the white peace. So I just accepted the white peace because the enforced white peace because, well, yeah.
So can we say your days of humiliation is over?
In the HRE, maybe not with Castile, but but in the HRE, I think the next war will be a really brutal and real war. But we'll see. But basically, Britain was funding Austria, Prussia, and I guess Hungary and Bohemia as well. Ricky?
Not me. Just
Oh.
Prussia and Austria.
Just Prussia and Austria, and they were preparing for war. I knew this war was coming, so did Cologne. I also know that Prussia and Britain both hate Cologne because they want to expand there, and Cologne was was really defiant to Britain. He was the only one opposing him. Every time Britain attacked some minor AI in the region, Cologne would send conditories to AI, stack wipe the British, occupy his land. So it was quite funny to watch, even without my help. And yeah, Britain and Cologne, they really don't like each other. So when they attacked, I had my sub playing because I had crashed already in this moment, but I gave my sub instructions to fight, to help Cologne as well as possible. I told Italy to strike at Venice now while the others are busy. He did, and he finished him off. And I think he was fighting Hungary also in that war, but I'm not sure. So it was, Britain, Prussia, Austria, Bohemia invading Cologne with me assisting them. I think I have a screenshot somewhere. They had 400,000 casualties, Cologne and me had 200,000. In the end, Cologne had to surrender when they sieged Paris and half of France.
Yeah,
Oh.
how it happened? Like how Germans
I didn't hear the last thing you said.
how Germans defied your forts in France, like how they are so bold.
Oh, well, I wasn't playing at the time. It was my sub. I just heard the commenting they did in the voice chat because, well, I had technical difficulties. But the way they told me it was, well, once they caught Cologne, they ambushed him and wiped him. But otherwise, I think it was numbers because I don't remember Cologne's force limit. I know I merked up to 200 regiments, but I think it wasn't enough, especially because Britain was paying him thousands of ducats. Yeah, for Britain it's no biggie. You know, he paid all of Austria's debt after the war. I think 2,500 ducats. Like it's for him it's pocket change. And
Well,
I think they just overrun us. But I can't say for sure because I didn't witness the war second and I only got the reports. So you might want to ask maybe Ricky or RZL or
yeah. Ricky, do you know what happened?
I wasn't in the war. I only saw like Austrian troops, so I didn't see that exactly. But in meanwhile, Florence attacked Venice second time, and Austria wasn't allied to them, so they didn't have a relation to enforce later. So I was stuck fighting Florence and France. So yeah, Venice pretty much just left at this point.
Yeah. Also with Venice, the moment Cologne surrendered, I already told Italy to start stab hitting Venice, because soon Austria and Prussia would enforce or join the war. It would be harder. So I told I told Italy to start stab at him, and after Venice peaced out, I think the player left, and the rest got eaten by Austria and Hungary in the Balkans. And
Yep. Prussia had regency, so he couldn't enforce, and Austria didn't have relation.
yeah, as far as I know.
Yeah, it was such an interesting session in Europe. We finally saw Ogi actively involving in politics rather than just humiliating people.
Well, I think I was also quite active before. I made sure that, well, I really made sure that Cologne and Florence didn't die. Both had, how should I put it, had a low life expectancy after the first session. They were on the hit list of quite a few nations, and I think it also includes politics to get them there. Also, which I forgot to mention before, when I was at war with Britain, I encouraged the Asians to attack Britain on the other side and attack him with ships, while I was meant to cut off their trade income in the channel. They would try to overcome his navy. At first it went well, and then the tides changed. I peaced out when Cologne surrendered. So yeah, Britain's undivided attention went to Asia, and Britain won, as far as I know. I crashed again by that time, so I only got the reports again.
Seems fair enough. Frozen and Twin, do you guys want to say anything to this huge conflict in Europe?
Oh, I haven't really been very involved in those wars. I've just been like kind of watching them play out. So.
Actually, Russia and France had a defensive agreement offered by Russia. Just
Yeah.
HRE should move against either one of us or our direct allies. The other one would declare a counter war. Well, they attacked Cologne and Russia said, "I'm sorry, I'm too poor, busy, and dying to help you."
Oh, I wasn't worried with Persia.
And Poland. Let's not forget about Poland, okay?
Yeah,
that agreement was kind of based on something I thought at the time, but didn't seem to be entirely true. So.
Yeah, well, Russia thought he might get attacked, so he made promises he wouldn't keep or couldn't keep. Yeah,
Well, you're embarrassing him.
I just wanted to add that French armies would have marched all the way to Moscow to relieve his ally, but apparently the Russians showed their true colors.
I mean, I was in the middle of a war with Persia. It was physically impossible for me, even if I wanted it to really do much about that.
Well, still, I call this treason. High treason.
Well, okay, I'm sure you can march Moscow as a conqueror, not as a relief force.
Why?
Go for it. No, not biased here. Just encouraging you for your nation's benefit.
Yeah, obviously, Austria and Prussia are just speed bumps on the way to Moscow.
Definitely. Ricky, do you want to think?
About the war in North? Oh.
Yeah, about Russian interference or possible not interference.
Well, we had a deal with Russia, so that's even weird.
Yeah, so did
Yeah.
I. So did
So,
I.
okay,
Yeah.
let's not involve personal diplomacy. We need to talk about the real wars in the East right now. We just talked about small wars. The real wars were in the East, guys. Definitely. We have 5 million casualties in the East compared to West. And
Can I show the ledger? Can I do it?
yeah, of course you can show the ledger.
Army losses.
Army losses, we need to show the numbers.
Where is France on this list? I don't see it. This
You
one?
don't
No,
see
no,
France?
no, I don't
Well,
see France.
The difference is everyone surrendered when I declared my.
Experience he's like fighting everyone, but like look at him. Even poor Poland has more casualties than you.
Oh, there is France.
Yeah.
Where is France? Is it almost 1 million?
Rookie numbers.
Rookie numbers. Yeah. And now we are at the East. The East, where we need to talk about the huge wars happened here. Several conflicts happened. But now, before we talk about the East, we need to say goodbye to Ogi. Ogi, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Pleasure is all on my side. Goodbye.
See you in the next one. And so how it happened? We are lucky. We have 3 commentators in this session to talk about this conflict. So I'm playing Poland. Ricky is playing Hungary. Frozen is playing Russia, and Twin is playing Mughals. I got charged by the HRA yet again, and no one helped me. So I decided to bend the knee and accept the demands of the HRA, and we signed a truce so they could focus on the west and I could focus on the east. And I see Russians and Mughals attacking together to Persia, and I decided to make new friends in the region. So guys, what do you want to say about this Eastern conflict?
This was a very frustrating session for me. The first Persian War made me, I think, madder than I've been at EU4 in a very long time. We were winning, and then Mughals accidentally
Yeah, that remind me. That remind me of that.
accepted on a forced peace, so we couldn't take any land. When I just went, okay.
Yeah.
So
The war started like 3 years after that immediately already. I think for Georgia or something. Because Persia vassalized Georgia and Russia also attacked them.
So then we started a new war afterwards, which we won, and now we're in the middle of a third one. So it's been a lot of back and forth. Poland also involving himself, staying afloat with British money. So
British money, yeah.
British money.
So how, from my perspective, because the guy was actually doing quite well, and he was alone against Sweden, Finland, Russia, Mughals, and Malva. And then I was like, yeah, I'm gonna help this guy. I saw at the point where I decided to join, he was actually making a counteroffensive around Circassia. I saw him like beating your armies, and I'm like, dude, I'm gonna help you to just like stay in the war.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I joined. I got quite besieged because I was like pissed at that point, and they just like besieged me and peace. Unexpected things happened. So Georgia got free, and Russia had no land access. I decided to attack Georgia, and I allied Persia, and I gave him the vassalization. So we found ourselves in a war against Russia. I think that was unexpected by Russian side, because like we just decided to counter siege each other. They are sieging Warsaw, we are sieging Moscow. They are unsieging Moscow, we are unsieging Warsaw. Like it was such back and forth.
Yeah, it was quite clowny. I think the only real winners of the wars when was going on there was Korea, that have been extorting us for like thousands of ducats to not enforce us, and Poland, which have made, I think you gained like 3 provinces so far from me. So
yeah, I got
not huge gains, but still significant when you're in a rough position.
I mean, I gained some death, I guess.
Yeah, you gained some dev too, actually. That's true. You killed Timurids, you gained Jalabad from, Yeah, I guess you have.
Yeah.
S-
Ricky, from your perspective, what was happening in the region, like, because you also enforced peace on Persian side against Malwa.
Yeah, for me, the whole situation is good because the more people are weaker, so it's better for me later to expand. But anyway, Persia got attacked by Malva and Bahmanis,
Yep.
and they were fighting Russia and Mughals. So I asked Persia if he wants to me enforce on Indians, and I did because I don't know if I should do it, but I had like a neutral relation with Russia, so I didn't want to enforce on him, but I did on Indians, and they accepted. So I saved Persia in one war, I guess. And it's important because Mamluks were AI, so that's big apart in those 3 wars or 2 Persian wars.
However, the Mamluks player hasn't really picked any military ideas, so like his army is, like he has quantity, I think, and that's pretty much it. Maybe I'm wrong. Check.
Actually, it's pretty interesting what the AI picked. They picked exploration expansion.
Yeah, so his army is like paper right now. So,
Well, still paper, but still numbers.
Yeah.
it helps.
Yeah, it helps. Yeah, when we ended the session, also there was a small war between Prussia, Poland, and Persia. So we can't tell, like, because it's personal diplomacy. We had some negotiations with Russia, and it didn't end up positively. And Russia at some point bankrupt because he took 12K debt to fight against Persia, and me realizing he's allied with Sweden, and we can just attack Sweden and maybe force Russia into a war. Ended up Sweden losing Baltic provinces and Skane to Prussia. I got some land there in Livonia, and Prussia got Memel State and Riga, and we saw an end to Swedish Baltic domination. That also should be mentioned in the conflict because he forced Frozen to, like, Russia to accept the call to arms, but he was in no position to accept it either. So how was it from your perspective, Frozen? Like, were you expecting something like this, or?
I waited. I kept looking up for a little bit, and then I saw Persia joining, and then I was like, okay, that's probably a bad idea in this case.
Yeah, we wanted to push you to join, like, or decline the call to arms because, like, we wanted to make some games before the session ended. Mughals, why did you decide not to join? Because you were also scared of, like, being alone in the conflict?
What? I couldn't join. I wasn't allied with Sweden.
I was actually expecting you to enforce peace or, like, do something else.
Why would I enforce peace if Russia doesn't even join? That doesn't make any sense, man.
What if you have to fight Persia alone?
Yeah, that's also correct.
At least his country has been taking out a lot of corruption to keep up the fight. So
I mean,
he might
my country is a country that's been sieged in every 15 years, so I don't think corruption is gonna be his biggest problem.
Yeah.
Maybe except for trade, he's not making money, I'm sure. Like, and you guys also took some of his trade centers.
Yeah, we've been trying to siege down the his trade centers in the wars so that he doesn't just continue funding his army forever.
Yeah.
It's kind of been working at this point. Persia is pretty badly beaten. He doesn't have much in terms of army.
We can
no
look at it.
manpower.
We can look at him. Let's see. He
I mean,
has.
we're all suffering, of course. Everyone's suffering very badly. in this
Everyone
area.
is suffering, that's correct.
Yeah, but I think he got the highest corruption.
Probably.
Yeah.
Without loans. I believe he's at 5K debt.
Yeah, 5 or 6.
Yeah,
You
and
can
corruption
check if you
14.
hover your mouse over take a new loan button, I think.
Yeah, 6K. Almost.
Yeah, it used to be higher, but his income is just so high that if he's at peace, it pays it up very quickly.
Yes. And we need to also talk about one thing which I find quite hilarious. AI or him sees the gold province in
Ah,
Mughals.
no, not gonna show it. I'm gonna zoom in right now. Nothing happened, guys.
If he did, like, consciously, that's a quite smart decision. I admire the guy. He's a totally madman.
Yeah, but I think it's the AI because if you look at it, it's
Could
tag.
be true. Okay. And now we have closed the eastern region, which was like the most intriguing region of this game in my perspective, we can say goodbye to Ricky. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me there in podcast. Bye.
Bye. Have a good day. The last time we were here, Mali had a regency. This time he didn't have a regency, and he got quite big in this section. Majapahit was improving and consolidating his power in the region, but he got attacked by the Britain. Actually, he attacked Britain in hoping of destroying his fleet and cutting his expansion. But as Ogie explained, it didn't work out. And yeah, we have Mali getting bigger in the region.
Yeah, Majapahit. What's Majapahit's ideas? Can you check that? Even I mean, they're sort of involved in Africa, right? Like they have some pretty good naval ideas. I thought
Yep,
Mhm.
full on naval.
quality, economic, naval, maritime. Maybe they should have taken innovative. It goes pretty well with maritime.
Maybe.
Instead of
In general-
economic, or
I mean, innovative and maritime gives you heavy ship combat ability, which I think doesn't it? I find it to be a pretty useful combat boost.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he did quite well so far. I believe Britain being pushed them back because he lost his expansion in Africa. I mean, I'm talking about Majapahit. But as of now, he's still doing fine.
Yeah.
And Mali is also improving. Like, he doesn't have any strong neighbors. Ethiopia was AI this session, and I don't know if there will be a player next session. He's also already next to Mamluks, and there is not a real threat for Mali in general.
Mali is just it's taking all the free dev basically in Africa.
One man's loss is one man's gain.
Yeah,
it's gonna border Ethiopia soon.
yeah, it's gonna get into conflict with Mamluks for dev as well. Maybe it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
What kind of ideas does Mali have?
Mali has innovative exploration, quality, economic.
And now to talk about Africa, we have a guest. Faltrion is with us. Hello, Faltrion.
Hello, nice to be with you. I'm Fultron. I'm playing Korea. This is my first game with this Sunday Wars Universalis.
Nice to have you. The last time I heard, we had a great naval engagement in Asia because you guys attacked Great Britain. How it
Yes,
all happened? How it all turned
I
out?
know that there will be listeners out there who always question the decision of trying to engage Britain on the high seas, but there was definitely some brilliant engagements by him. I have to totally tip my hand. He not only played to his strengths, he played very well in that war, and his reward is, as you can see, he's managed to carve himself quite a turkey out of poor Malaya. He's suffered quite severely at the hands of the British, definitely.
Yes, seems so. Like when I came to your channel, you guys were fighting, and Britain asked me if you guys want to make peace, and you guys were telling me he didn't even engage to our main fleet. And after I realized, you guys actually lost the engagement.
Yes, well, the thing about naval engagements at this particular tech level and in these kind of open waters, which they were fought around the actual islands of Brunei and the Malacca Strait, is that rotating your fleet is absolutely key. But we never had the momentum, and we never had the multiple port kind of strategy that Britain was able to lay down on us. And he was very, very well positioned, I think, with his technology at the beginning of this war. It was always a bit of a risk. We knew that we were always, you always got a risk when you're attacking Britain like this. But I think it just came down to, we had some arrangements with some of the Europeans that we're honestly not too familiar with the politics of Europe out there in the Far East. But we are trying to sort of get a hold of things so that we might be more prepared for the next war. Now, whether that'll be Britain acting as the aggressor, you can see he has quite a lot of subjects now that I think he may intend to feed off of the Malayans. And of course, I'm sure there'll be more of his attempts to try and seize more possessions in Africa as well, so that he ends up being able to push more trade round that way. What do you guys think? If you were Britain right now, would you leave it as is, or would you go for more? What do you think?
You
I
have
would
to go for
personally
more. Yeah.
Yeah, if he has the initiative right now, he should definitely take advantage of it.
I mean, the quote-unquote good news is that we were behind, 2 diptychs when this war started. This was definitely a bit of a throw of the dice. And we also didn't have the ideas. It was only towards the end of that war that me and Malaya decided that we would take maritime and naval respectively. So I think it'll take a little while, maybe another few decades, for us to be able to compete with the British on the sea. I feel reasonably confident, that the British probably won't invest in naval ideas because they don't have the same sort of unique position in Asia that we do. They kind of have to be more concerned about their influence on the continent as well, which is always something that I think perhaps exploit is the wrong word to use, but definitely something that we'll be trying to encourage, definitely going forward. I mean, do you guys think that it was a bit of a free win for the British? It did take about 15 years, I would definitely say, to get it all resolved. But I don't remember it's funny you mention it. I don't remember the British actually coming to us and asking for peace, honestly. I think he just basically waited to see what would happen in Europe. And when he was free, he committed his entire navy and army, and it was enough to kind of build up a snowball advantage on us, definitely. I'm interested to know what European players will think of it, what their opinion is of the status quo in Europe and in Africa, indeed. I'm not sure how Mamluks, when he comes back this week, will react. I'm not sure how the fall of Persia, hopefully not a permanent fall, just a kind of an interregnum. I'm not sure how that's going to affect geopolitics. But I'm interested to see how people, Britain is now the undisputed economic great power. I think my ability to contest it will still be a long way off. And when now he's able to push all the trade out of Malaya straight to the English Channel, that'll be quite potent for him. I think you'll see. He'll do quite well there.
Maybe one advantage you guys might have is land army, because definitely on the seas right now Britain rules. But when it comes to maybe land engagements, you guys maybe turn the tide.
Certainly, I mean, you have to keep in mind that we're not focusing ourselves on being preeminent land powers. What we're doing is just trying to kind of, if possible, try and safeguard the East Asia kind of Pacific kind of area if we can, and see how we get on. That's because we at the end of the day, Korea and I believe he started as Majapahit. We don't start as great powers. We have a long way to come, and we've come a long way, but we're still behind. The great has had a wonderful game where he hasn't had to combat anyone for colonial gains. He's had some colonial partners that are in quite a close alliance with him. And he seems to have a lot of influence over the African area, Mali in particular, as well as quite a free hand in Europe. I imagine it's quite a fun game to be playing Britain, but I'm not sure how to adapt my strategy to try and kind of plan for the future when Britain kind of is on my doorstep, if we can't sort out the Malaya issue. So yeah, any questions? Anything about the game, right from the beginning, or do you want to just talk about specifically the wars?
We had Naiba here to talk about his experiences in Asia, who he was playing Tibet, and he was telling us how Qing player turned out to be a magician to convince you to give him Beijing.
Well, I have some might say it's a very bad strategy, and I'm happy to entertain any critics. But I personally view having friends that I can cooperate with expansion. When there's plenty of expansion to go around, I'd much rather have cooperation than I would have competition. Does that make any sense? And I believed at the time, and I still believe, that it was correct to allow Qing to continue to exist when we did lose our original Qing player, sadly. But the new Qing player, I thought it was probably worth the risk in letting them form Qing, because as you guys know, it means that they no longer are a horde, so they don't use tribal unity. It gives them legitimacy. They keep the banners, and their economics becomes a little bit easier to manage. Although Qing and Oirat have both been a little bit dependent on my kind of economic power to kind of keep them afloat in times of conflict. So we always have to kind of plan our moves quite long in advance over here in the East, definitely. And I think it's worked out quite well, really, because as you can see, there's no more Tibet on the map. And he was definitely our primary threat as the game began. So Tibet and Ayutthaya no longer exist. So, you know, regardless of whether you guys think friendship might be the answer to all the world's problems, I would definitely say that having more members in an alliance is definitely good. And if you're the Middle Kingdom, making peace with your friends so that you can concentrate on your enemies is also very important. You know,
I got one more question. We were talking about Britain and how intervening in that region, but we have a different Russia playing Russia, and he is actually not colonizing to come to Asia. So do you actually not feel pressured by European politics except for Britain?
So really, this is the kind of the strength of our position, and also the problem that Britain has is that whatever Britain win or lose, Britain is kind of still, fortunately, putting himself on the top of our radar. He's making enemies on the other side of the world that may or may not be relevant to him. Certainly, that's true. But he is currently making all of our politics kind of revolve around how to kind of combat him. That's never, in my opinion, that's never been a good position to be in a multiplayer like this, when alliances can change, when the politics can swing on a dime if someone is seen to be getting too powerful. I don't suppose, how many holdings does Britain still have on the continent exactly? Because I'm interested to know how much of the trade power he controls.
Do you mean in Europe?
In the English Channel, exactly. Yes.
He basically controls all of the lowlands.
Right. Okay. I mean, like, do you think it's enough that someone could perhaps stab hit him without actually landing, or is it that's not enough development on the mainland? Basically, what do you think?
We should definitely ask that question to France player, because he actually occupied lowlands for some time.
Right.
But he
Well,
was more interested in collecting trade rather than stop hitting. So.
Yeah, it's stealing all the trade.
of course. No, absolutely. I mean, that's a fine strategy. I mean, doing that and having a long-term conflict where you encourage Dutch rebels, for example, is definitely a good strategy, in my opinion. Who knows? That might be our new strategy against the British. Just seeing if we can get Malay rebels to spawn, or African rebels to spawn, and seeing if we can pick up the pieces. But I definitely think, as a result of everything that's been going on over the course of the game, our concern has definitely been consolidating our region, which I'd say we've done quite successfully. And the next challenge will be seeing off the European quote-unquote invasion. You know what I mean? That's I understand that we were the ones who declared the war, but I would definitely say we have a right to feel threatened now.
Let's say preemptive intervention, right?
Absolutely. This is a preemptive, you know, the British merchants, they smuggled too much opium. We had to shut it down. Unfortunately, they had the bigger boats. So there you are. And the better admiral, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. Thank you for joining us and telling us how things are in Asia. Glad to have you, and hope to see you in the next one.
My pleasure. All right.
And now we are in the American region. We have the rise of United States. We have England dominating the entire region. We have Portugal immigrating to Argentina. Actually, let's say Portugal. And we have Ireland still going for Brazil. I'm actually quite impressed. Like, Britain actually created a Commonwealth of nations, and he secured entirety of America for himself. Ogi is still saying he's supporting Castile, but Do you guys think they have a chance of coming back?
Like in the colonial game,
Yeah.
I mean, there's barely anything left to take, and you have to defend it as well, and neither of them really have much of a navy, so I don't know.
What I found interesting actually, and I really underestimated this, but if you look at the income of the United States, same, 150.
Wow. It makes me jealous.
Yeah, me too.
Is the United States like sending some trade away to Britain, or is it just
No,
collecting it
I
for himself?
don't think
or-
so. I don't
He's
think
not?
so. Let me just check. No, he's collecting it himself. From the
Wow.
Caribbean, at least.
It's definitely very good.
I mean, there's 16 ducats leaving Chesapeake Bay, isn't it?
Yeah, but
Definitely.
he's not steering it himself. That's what I mean.
But I guess it's still good for Britain, right? Because there's just going to be so much more trade in the New World when you have this player in the United States just building up.
Yeah, just building manufactories. That's probably what he's doing right now.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
And he has so much land
Oh.
just left to colonize and conquer. I mean, he can just, get all of North America. He's going to be rich.
Well,
I don't want to talk about personal diplomacy, but we could definitely see a very strong United States eventually, maybe.
Eventually.
Maybe with
he's
his own
coming to
will?
Europe. How do you know?
Yeah.
Taking some military bases over the world,
Yeah,
interfering in the region.
It wouldn't surprise me.
I would accept U.S. Marines in my country to protect me from Russian orcs.
Wow. Wow.
I'm kidding. I don't know, but he's doing fine. Like really nice. I've never seen like this successful United States in any games in a multi game I played. Like
Yep.
he's. I mean, he's not much opposition either, but like he's doing quite nice.
Certainly. Scottish United States, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's Scottish. And he was in good relations with England, so I don't really expect him to fight. So
I
Yeah,
mean,
he was Scotland before coming here.
Yeah, he has. I mean, he has no reason to, and they've been cooperating so well in this game. I feel, or maybe he'll just decide.
Yeah, you can see Scottish.
I need
in him.
Florida. This means war.
could have an actual independence war.
Yeah, we will find out. And here we are, 1600s. Probably will play like 50, 60 years in the next campaign as well. The war is growing in Europe. Everyone can feel it. There is a still war going on in the East, and it's gonna be an interesting session. This session was quite interesting. This session was quite fun, and I'm just waiting for the next one.
Yeah, I mean, Eastern Europe and the Near East has been at war constantly, pretty much for the last session. No one was able to really. Has been able to build up too much, or at least as much as they would like to. I think.
I blame
got
the
some
destruction of
thoughts.
the Turks.
Just
Turks.
conquering Persian land, and there's
I-
like nothing in it. There's like one building. Because everyone is spending all their money
Yeah.
on the soldiers.
Like when we were first talking about it, Twin was saying you can like kill Ottomans, but you exchange it with like Persia, and like as I can see from like afar, Persia was holding off Russia, Mughals, Sweden, and Finland alone, and he was doing pretty well. And also like this entire thing is definitely interesting. Now France and Asia are actively fighting, and as Ivory is almost united. Let's leave it like open, almost united.
Yeah.
Thank you for all you guys for joining. I hope to see you in the next podcast.